Ladies and gentlemen, we meet again towards Parashat Shlach Lecha for a short and sweet idea, which I think is very relevant to where we're holding just now in this special, terrible war that has now got a new name, Am Kelavi. The pasuk says, "Hen Am Kelavi Yakum." A lavi is a lioness. When a lioness sees that its cubs are under threat, it jumps up. Kelavi Yakum. The lioness gets up and really attacks with all its force, with no fear. That's special about the lion. A lion has no fear. And that's what we're doing just now. We are attacking Iran with no fear. And let me explain from this week's Parsha a short insight about this. And for that, I need to ask a very basic question, but it's got to do with the Parsha and the Haftorah. In the Parsha, we see that Moshe Rabbeinu sends his spies to the land of Israel to check it out, and they fail. And we pay a very high price for that. We have to wait a whole extra generation. 40 years we have to wander in the desert until we get to enter the land of Israel because of this failure. On the other hand, 40 years later, we see in the Haftorah, in the second chapter in Joshua, that he sends his spies, and they are very successful. And they're so successful that he goes in, he crosses the Jordan, and he goes in and he captures the land of Israel. Why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu was so unsuccessful, and Joshua was so successful? What made this failure? Made this a success? So, first of all, I'd like to get help from the Kli Yakar, Rabbi Chaim Milunchid, 16th century. We've mentioned him many times, from Prague. And he has the following insight. He says, what did Moshe tell Bnei Yisrael? He told Bnei Yisrael they should go v'yaturu et eretz Canaan. They should go, and the verb is latur. Latur is one of the only words I know in English, in Hebrew, that means exactly what it means in English. It means to tour, tourist. What does a tourist do? It looks for the beautiful places. It goes around with the camera and takes pictures of the most beautiful and the advantages of each place. And that's, he explains this from the word yitaron. Yitaron means an advantage. When you go to tour, you go to look at the advantages of the place that you're visiting. However, what did they do? Vayachperu et haaretz. Says the Kli Yakar that this is from the word cherpa. They were looking for the disgusting. They took pictures of the wrong things. They took pictures of the weak links, of the negative sides of the land of Israel. And therefore, in summary, they were the meraglim. They went to spy. What does a spy do? A spy looks at the weak links. The spy looks out for those parts of the land and those parts of the community which are weak, so they make it easier to capture. But they were not sent out for that. They were sent out v'yatur. Look at the advantages. Come back and give Am Yisrael motivation to cross the Jordan and to enter the land of Israel and to fight the battles to conquer it. But they came back and they did the opposite. Not only did they not give motivation, they depressed Am Yisrael. And therefore they had to wait those whole 40 years for a whole new generation to come around. And but why did this happen? Why did this happen? This brings me to my second point, which is, let's look out at who was chosen to be a spy by Moshe Rabbeinu. So it says, Kulam Anashim. Anashim, says Rashi, important people, Rashi Bnei Yisrael Hema, they're the heads and the leaders of Am Yisrael. And then they're mentioned by name, and the name of their father, Lemate Reuven, Shamua ben Zakur, Lemate Shimon, Shaphat ben Chori. Each person has an important name, the name of his father. Everybody has got, it's very important. And when the people you send are very important, they have their own ideas. They do not. They don't listen. They do not listen to what they're told. So what if Moshe Rabbeinu told them to look at the positive? No, they decided to look at the negative, and that is terrible. And that is terrible. And that brought upon us terrible things. But what happened in the days of Joshua? Who did he send? Shnei meraglim cheresh. He sent two people quietly. We don't know their names. We don't know who they were. The Medrash says it was Kalev and Pinchas, but maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. That's not the point. The point is the pasuk says Cheresh. They went under the radar. They were quiet. They were totally silent about themselves. They didn't see their own importance. And when a person doesn't see their own importance, they do the job properly. And therefore, Joshua was successful where Moshe Rabbeinu was not unsuccessful. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a war which has escalated from a war against the Hamas to a war against Hezbollah to a war against Syria, and now it's a war against Iran. And the war against Iran has been so far incredibly successful. Baruch Hashem, we have casualties, and we're sorry and we're in pain for each one of those casualties. But in perspective, I think we have 97% success in shooting down the rockets that they shoot at us, and 100% success in our bombing the targets in Iran. So Baruch Hashem, we're so far being very successful. The success will only continue to be more and more. But who's doing this? Who's making this success? It's two types of soldiers. First of all, it's the Mossad. Who's in the Mossad? We don't know. Nobody's got a face. In the Mossad, nobody has a face. Nobody has a name. They just do what they're told undercover, and they do a good job of it. And then we have the pilots. And the pilots are flying thousands of kilometers to Iran and back. And who are they? No. Pilots have a blurred face in the pictures, and we don't know who the pilots are. They don't have a name. The key is humility. If they have humility, if the pilots have humility, and the Mossad have humility, then they are successful, like the Meraglim of Yehoshua, who were Cheresh, who had a lot of humility. And therefore, they have to continue with the job, and the Yirtzeh Hashem will doing a big favor, not only for Am Yisrael, not only for the Middle East, but for the whole of the Western world, and getting rid of this evil dragon called Iran, which is run in the most terrible way and is causing a lot of misery and trouble and wants to fill the world with agony. And Am Yirtzeh Hashem, our IDF will be successful in conquering and really having a full victory b'mheira b'yameinu.